guys, Alex here, another reaction video to some of the amazing history from the Philippines. You guys sent me this on Patreon and I was like, what the hell? This is something wow. Because the title is Viking DNA found in Filipinos. I mean, what the hell? I'm a fan of Vikings a lot. I love that kind of history over there. I watch a lot of things about the Vikings. But I know they, of course, England, I know they arrived to Sicily, in Italy, in the south of Italy, but Philippines? I mean, what's the connection? I'm so damn curious. I don't know if you knew about this, but like always on the channel, you can learn a lot more about this amazing people that are called Filipinos. That being said, like, subscribe, share for more people to know about, and let's go.
What if I told you that some Filipinos carry genetic traces of seafaring warriors from Scandinavia? Not Spanish conquistadors, not Asian traders, but Vikings, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Norsemen who raided Europe over 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, Europe, okay, but...
This sounds impossible, right?
Yeah.
The Philippines and Scandinavia are separated by nearly 10,000 kilometers. Yet recent genetic studies have uncovered something extraordinary that's rewriting what we thought we knew about ancient migration and human history. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most unexpected genetic mysteries of our time, a hidden connection that spans continents, centuries, and challenges everything we assumed about the peopling of Southeast Asia. The discovery. The story begins not in Manila or Stockholm, but in a genetics laboratory where researchers were conducting routine DNA analysis of Filipino populations. They were studying the typical migration patterns, expecting to find genetic markers from China, Indonesia, Malaysia, and perhaps some Spanish colonial DNA. What they found instead left them stunned. But wait, before we continue this story, our goal on this video is to get 500
the original video. You can find it down below
in the comments.
If you want to go and show some support as well.
Subscribe to the channel, turn on bell notifications. Let's continue to the story. Buried within the genetic code of certain Filipino populations were haplogroups, specific genetic markers passed down through generations that matched those found predominantly in Northern Europe, particularly Scandinavia. We're talking about the I1 haplogroup, sometimes called the Viking haplogroup, because it's most concentrated in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. But here's where it gets even stranger. These weren't recent introductions from modern migration or intermarriage. The genetic signatures suggested these markers had been present in the Filipino gene pool for hundreds, possibly even 1,000 years. This was ancient DNA, predating Spanish colonization, predating even the Ming dynasty's maritime expeditions. How could Viking DNA possibly end up in Filipino bloodlines? The Vikings never sailed to Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Or did they? Understanding the Vikings.
History says no.
Before we solve this mystery, we need to understand who the Vikings really were. Popular culture shows us raiders with horned helmets attacking monasteries. But the Vikings were so much more than warriors. They were perhaps the greatest seafarers and explorers of the medieval world. From the 8th to the 11th centuries, Vikings didn't just raid. They traded, explored, and settled across vast distances. They reached North America 500 years before Columbus. They established kingdoms in England, Ireland, and France. They sailed down Russian rivers to reach Constantinople and traded with the Byzantine Empire.
Man, this is outstanding.
Viking traders even reached the Middle East, where Arab scholars documented their arrival. But here's the crucial part. Vikings were genetic mixers. Wherever they went, they intermarried with local populations. A Viking settlement wasn't just Scandinavian, it was a melting pot. Vikings who settled in Russia mixed with Slavic peoples. Those
Yeah.
in Britain mixed with Anglo-Saxons.
Especially
Those who reached the Mediterranean
Ragnar Lothbrok.
mixed with southern Europeans. This genetic mixing is key to our mystery because Vikings didn't need to physically reach the Philippines themselves. They just needed to pass their
Went to
DNA to
Philippines.
populations
Okay.
that eventually did. The Silk Road connection. Now we enter the realm of the Silk Road, but not just the land routes we learned about in school. There was a maritime Silk Road, a network of sea routes connecting the Middle East, India, Southeast Asia, and China. This maritime highway existed for over 2,000 years, with its peak during the exact period when Vikings were active. Here's where the pieces start fitting together. Vikings established significant presence in the Byzantine Empire and traded extensively through the Middle East. Some Vikings, known as the Varangian Guard, served as elite warriors for Byzantine emperors. These Norse warriors intermarried with local populations in Constantinople, the Caucasus, and even Persia. Meanwhile, Arab and Persian traders dominated the maritime Silk Road, regularly sailing to Southeast Asia, including what is now the Philippines. These weren't short trips. Entire families moved, communities were established, and significant intermarriage occurred. The genetic pathway becomes clearer. Viking DNA entered Middle Eastern and Central Asian populations
then they went to the
through
Philippines.
intermarriage and settlement. These populations then traveled along trade routes to Southeast Asia. Over generations, through multiple intermediary populations, trace amounts of Viking genetic markers made their
outstanding.
way to the Philippines. But there's another, even more intriguing possibility. The Russ Viking theory. Let's talk about the Russ Vikings, Scandinavians who traveled east instead of west. While their western cousins raided England and France, these eastern Vikings sailed down the Volga and Dnieper rivers, establishing trade networks that stretched from Sweden to the Caspian Sea and beyond. The Rus Vikings founded settlements that would eventually become Russia and Ukraine. But more importantly, they became the crucial link between Scandinavia and Asia. They traded with the Khazars, the Bulgars, and eventually made contact with Chinese and Central Asian merchants along the Silk Road. Archaeological evidence shows that Russ Vikings reached as far as the Caspian Sea region by the 9th century. From there, their genetic material could have been passed to Turkic and Mongol populations, who later swept across Asia. The Mongol Empire, which connected east and west like never before, could have been a genetic superhighway. Consider this timeline. Vikings reached Central Asia by 900 AD. Mongol
300 years
expansion
after.
occurs in the 1200s. The Philippine archipelago had extensive trade connections with China and Southeast Asian empires throughout this period. Genetic material doesn't need direct contact. It can hopscotch through populations over centuries. But here's the truly wild possibility that some researchers are investigating. Could individual
I don't think
Vikings
so.
have actually made it further east than we ever imagined? The outlier theory. Historical records are incomplete. For every documented Viking voyage, there were probably dozens that left no written trace. We know Vikings reached North America, but we only discovered that archaeological evidence in the 1960s. How many other Viking journeys remain undiscovered? Some historians point to tantalizing clues. Medieval Chinese sources mention foreign traders with unusual appearances, tall, pale-skinned, with light hair and eyes arriving from the western seas. Could some of these have been Vikings who
Gonna pause for 1 second here, guys. This is amazing. I mean, I didn't did these connections, And that's why I don't know if you knew about this or if what is your theory about it. But, you know, it explains a little bit why Filipinos have so much courage, why they are so strong and the resilient and everything. Because you know how Vikings were, warriors and courage and everything. So a little bit, it kinds of make a light on it. But really, wow. In my opinion, I don't think they managed to win till in the Philippines or Asia. It's too far away. I mean, it couldn't be possible.
Traveled the entire length of the Silk Road. There's also the phenomenon of outlier genetics, when individuals from one population end up in completely unexpected locations. We've found Roman coins in Japan, African skeletons in medieval England, and South American plants in pre-Columbian Pacific Islands. Human migration has always been more complex than we imagine. Could a small group of adventurous Vikings, perhaps captured as slaves, hired as mercenaries, or simply lost on trading expeditions, have ended up in Central or even East Asia? Could they have joined merchant caravans, married into local families, and had their DNA eventually reach Southeast Asia through generations of subsequent migration? It sounds far-fetched, but genetic evidence doesn't lie. That Viking DNA got to the Philippines somehow. The scientific evidence. Let's examine what the genetics actually tell us. The haplogroups found in some Filipino populations aren't abundant. We're talking
So
about
really
trace
small.
amounts, perhaps 1 to 3% in certain communities. This suggests ancient admixture, not recent migration. DNA analysis can estimate when genetic mixing occurred based on the number of generations and genetic drift. The Viking-associated markers in Filipino populations show patterns consistent with introduction between 500 to 1,000 years ago, right in the time frame of the medieval warm period when both Viking
Were happening
expansion
in those
and
moments, yeah.
maritime Silk Road trade were at their peak. Interestingly, these genetic markers aren't evenly distributed across the Philippines. They appear more frequently in
For
coastal
the trace connection
communities
that they had.
with histories of extensive trade connections, particularly in areas that ancient Chinese and Arab texts identify as trading ports. This geographic pattern supports the trade route hypothesis. If the DNA came through maritime merchant networks, we'd expect to find it concentrated in historical trading hubs. And that's exactly what researchers are finding. But science also teaches us humility. Genetic studies of Southeast Asian populations are still relatively limited. As more Filipinos get their DNA analyzed and databases expand, we may discover this Viking connection is more widespread than currently known, or we might find alternative explanations. Alternative explanations. We should consider other possibilities. Could these genetic markers have reached the Philippines through other routes entirely?
Yeah.
Spanish colonization is one obvious candidate, but the genetic signatures appear too old for that explanation. However, there were pre-Spanish European contacts with Asia. Marco Polo reached China in the 1200s, and other European traders and explorers followed. Could
And
they
we
have
left
been
with that
carriers?
question. Could they? Wow. For me, this is fascinating, guys. I don't know. Not only because I love history, but, trying to understand how this is possible. I don't know. My theory is I don't think that Vikings really went to the Philippines. I guess it was more of that theory with trading from Russia, China, and then it happened because it's too far away. I mean, they couldn't. I mean, could they? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below, guys, if you really enjoyed this and what is your theories. Have you had your DNA analyzed till now? maybe you can find a little Viking in yourself. But it's a beautiful thing. Not only because Vikings, like I said, they were fearless. They had a lot of courage and resilience, like you guys. Because Filipino, it's in my point of view, the one of the most amazing country with amazing people in the world for everything that you have done and that you're doing. Yeah, and even if it's poverty, corruption, it doesn't matter. The people are always amazing. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think down below. Like the video, subscribe, and like I always say, till next time, stay safe. Wow.